Operant conditioning is a term used in learning theory, and since training our dogs is basically just teaching our dogs, it's good for you to know a little bit about what it is and the terms that are involved in it. Try not to overthink it though, I'll try to keep it nice and simple. Operant conditioning involves 4 quadrants, and those 4 quadrants are positive reinforcement, negative reinforcement, positive punishment, and negative punishment. Now, I wanted to clear up those terms a little bit so that you don't get confused right off the bat. Reinforcement means something your dog likes, so they're more likely to try and get that to happen again. And punishment is, very simply put, something your dog doesn't like. They're going to work towards that unpleasant thing not happening again. The positive and negative that I was saying, because as you can kind of tell, reinforcement and punishment are what are dictating whether something is good or bad for our dog. That is something that's very important to keep in mind as well, is that whatever we're doing is catered to your dog specifically. The dog is going to decide if something is reinforcing or punishing to them. So then the positive and negative in those terms actually refers to adding or removing, kind of like in math. So a great example of the first quadrant, positive reinforcement, would be I ask my dog, come here. I can ask my dog to sit. Yes. And then I can give my dog adding some food, which she likes, so that next time I ask her to sit, she's probably going to do it. Okay. The next quadrant that I mentioned was negative reinforcement. So we're taking something away so that our dog is more likely to work towards that thing again. This one can be a little confusing, but a great example that has nothing to do with our dogs is the seatbelt signal in your car. So if you don't put on your seatbelt, most cars nowadays will start making a noise, and it persists until you put your seatbelt on. Now, the noise isn't so terrible that you couldn't ignore it if you really wanted to, but it is annoying enough for you to want to put that seatbelt on. And then as soon as you do that, the noise goes away, which is reinforcing to you, so that next time you probably won't wait so long to put that seatbelt back on. It's kind of the same for our dogs. I like to use leash pressure as our dog example, just because the leash pressure isn't necessarily a punisher for your dog if it's just a little bit of pressure on there. And then if your dog steps towards you when you're pulling them lightly, that leash pressure drops away. That could be negative reinforcement for your dog. Moving on to positive punishment. This one involves adding something with the positive, and it's something your dog doesn't like to make so that they hopefully try to avoid that next time. So that could be a leash pop. It could be startling your dog by clapping and using kind of a firm voice. It could be yelling at your dog. There's lots of things that you could add that make your dog doesn't like, and in an ideal world, that means that they're going to work towards avoiding that. So positive punishment is just adding something that your dog does not like. And then finally, we have negative punishment, which means we're removing something and your dog does not like that. So good examples of that could be your dog really wants your attention and is jumping on you, and then you remove yourself from that situation so that your dog can't get to you. You removing yourself is punishing to the dog, so that would be negative punishment. I just realized how little I actually covered negative punishment, and so I wanted to give you just a couple human examples, just because for some people that helps kind of understand what we're talking about instead of just giving dog examples. So a good human analogy or example would be taking away an Xbox for not doing your homework, and you can't play with your Xbox until you finish your homework, or taking away a phone for similar reasons, or even grounding could be seen as negative punishment because you can't go do the things that you want as a punishment for not listening or whatever it would be. It's just good to know these terms so you can be a little mindful of what you're doing with your dog, but also try not to overthink it because it is not worth getting completely confused and flustered over when you're just trying to train your dog.